Hey guys, it's Lauren and welcome back to the channel. So in a previous video, I was talking a lot about how bad my anxiety has been since the start of the year and kind of the end of last year, and just kind of the struggles that I've been having, things that I've been thinking about taking medication, trying to find things that help me. And I, in fact, have found some things that have helped me. Since I made that video, my anxiety has decreased again. I've been feeling a lot more balanced, a lot calmer. It's actually been at a level that's very manageable day to day. And while I know that that can easily ebb and flow, like I know that I could go through periods of having pretty intense anxiety again, I do think that some of the things that I have been doing daily since that last video, I do think those have had a big influence on feeling better. So I want to just cover a few of those tips today that have helped me with my anxiety and hopefully can help you as well. So let's dive right in. The first one is probably what many of us hear about when we talk about self-care or when we talk about mindfulness for anxiety is mindfulness practices. And I think these can be very individualistic. It kind of depends on the person, what works for them. So, for example, if I try to sit and traditionally meditate for 10 minutes a day, I have to find a way that works for me. Sometimes meditation can make me, meditation can make me anxious if I try to do it exactly how, like, the guided meditation tells me. It's kind of hard to explain, but I have to stick with short periods of meditation. So like I've mentioned before, I use an app called Stop, Breathe, and Think. I think it's those three words in some combination. I use that app a lot because it's free, and many of the meditations are between anywhere from just 1 minute to 10 minutes. And I usually do something between like 3 and 7 minutes. And that's just really doable for me. If I try to do something that's more, I end up putting it off. I end up not doing it when I start my day. And somehow the idea of how long it's going to take makes me more anxious. So I try to do one of those. I do that kind of meditation before I start my work day. And it's short enough to where it's like, okay, I can do this. And sometimes if I'm doing the meditation and my eyes are closed, I start to feel like the world is like caving in on me. I start to feel like my space gets really small. So sometimes I will keep my eyes open and just stare at a point in front of me. And another thing is that usually if they say to just sit and focus on your breath, that can make me more anxious sometimes, because it's like when I am anxious, my breath is not natural. Like I tend to hold my breath. So I'll actually guide myself to actually inhale and exhale. So kind of just, I think, approaching meditation with flexibility and finding ways to make it work for you is a really good place to start with mindfulness. So that's one mindfulness thing I do. Another thing I've been doing is adding on yoga to the end of my workouts, because I do my workouts in the evening. So I've been adding yoga on to the end of my workout, kind of at the end of the day. As I'm like winding down from that, I take a moment for yoga, and I really like the routines from Yoga with Adriene on YouTube. And I used to actually not like them because I would use yoga as a complete workout. I would do power yoga, I would do something that was intense. And I mean, it was kind of to save time, but I also really liked yoga, but I felt like I couldn't do it unless I was getting something out of it as far as like cardiovascular or toning. And I've discovered that actually it's better for me to approach yoga as a mindfulness practice more than anything else. And because one thing, when I am going through a lot of anxiety or, depression or just really strong emotions, feeling really uptight, I need those mindfulness practices. I need those moments to just sit and be able to focus on my breath and be able to be in touch with my body a little bit more and just slow down. So I found her videos really helpful. She has some that are, just a few minutes. She has others that are around 10 minutes, 10 to 20 minutes. I tend to do like the 10 to 20 minute frame most nights. But if I can make the time, I will do the ones that are like 30 plus minutes, because those end up making me feel really really great overall. And she's just got really a soothing voice. She's also got a sense of humor. So I find it really, she's a lot of fun. She doesn't take herself too seriously or take yoga too seriously. And so it really just helps you kind of relax into the moment. But any kind of like movement like that you can incorporate into your day at some point, I think can be really helpful because it can just kind of get your mind to slow down and your body to slow down and get you into that mindset. So I want to also say that when it comes to mindfulness practices, I don't always feel like they're working right away. And I think that's a significant thing to note because when you don't feel like it's helping right away, in fact, sometimes it'll actually make me more frustrated because I'm like, I can't calm down. I don't want to keep doing them, right? So what I try to see mindfulness practices as is an investment that add up over time. I can't really explain it fully, but when I am consistent with my daily mindfulness practices, I will keep doing them, and then suddenly just one day I will wake up and find that my anxiety is much better and my outlook is more positive and something about it is working. So I would encourage you to, if you're trying mindfulness practices and they don't seem to be helping you that much, try to stick with them for a few days, like for a week, and then take stock of how your mental state might have changed, because I think sometimes it does take a little bit of time for the benefits to show up. Now, another thing that I had been dealing with a lot this last year that was new to me, so it got very scary, was heart palpitations. And I think I shared in the last video, as far as I know, I'm completely healthy. I have that white coat hypertension at the hospitals, at the doctor's office, where my blood pressure skyrockets when I'm at the doctor's office or around people because I'm so anxious. But when I check it at home, it seems to be within a normal range. In fact, sometimes it's even a very healthy range. So as far as I know, I'm healthy. And what I've noticed is that since I've been taking these steps to reduce my anxiety, I haven't had a single heart palpitation, knock on wood. I think it's been over a week, if not more. And one thing that I changed is that when I would have the heart palpitations, instead of letting it make me more anxious and make me worried about my heart and make me scared, I would be like, okay, I'm just going to pause and take a moment to breathe deeply. So just like for a few moments, I would just sit and take deep breaths and be like, it's going to be okay. This has happened before. And one other thing that I've changed that may be helping that, now I don't know if this is helping for sure. I'm not a medical professional. I'm not a dietitian. I don't know if this is for sure, but I do know that magnesium is one mineral that is involved with heartbeat. And I've been taking a spray magnesium at night. I spray it on the backs of my knees. I do 5 sprays. And actually, let me go get that for you real quick so I can show you what I use. It's this right here. It is Life Flow Pure Magnesium Oil from the ancient Zechstein seabed. I don't know if I'm saying that right at all, but this is what I use. This is not sponsored or anything. My husband had bought this a while back, and I didn't really pay much attention to it until I just started using it, and I've been using it consistently every night. It says spray 4 to 5 times on the skin and massage the area. I don't know if it's a coincidence or not, but it has been helping me. Or, I mean, I haven't had heart palpitations, and my anxiety has been better since I started doing that consistently. Could be unrelated completely, but I thought that I would mention it. The next thing is cutting back on caffeine. And this is a really, really hard one for me, actually, because for one, I really love the experience of having a warm cup of coffee in the morning. I like herbal teas too, but nothing quite does it for me like coffee does. I love this flavor of it. I love the smell of it. I love the experience of it. So it's hard for me, but I've still been having a cup of coffee in the morning. And what I would do before, I wasn't consuming more caffeine than the average person, I don't think. I would have a cup in the morning, and then I would probably have like another cup in the afternoon. But my sister, actually, I was messaging some friends about my anxiety being so bad, and she mentioned how when hers is bad, she's been like drinking less coffee, either drinking decaf or having tea instead. And I was like, oh yeah, that's probably right. You know, that coffee is one of the things that I have trouble giving up. And it's not even really that I'm addicted. I'm probably addicted to the caffeine, but it's not so much that, it's the experience, like I said. And I also have ADHD, so coffee and caffeine stimulants help me focus. They help me get my work done. They help me feel more balanced in my focus. So it's hard to give that up. So I don't give it up. It's the thing. I just consume less. So I'll usually have a cup of coffee in the morning. And if my anxiety is really bad, if I'm already feeling anxious for that day, I will just drink herbal tea for the rest of the day, or I might have like some like breakfast tea or even green tea, because even those are much lower in caffeine than coffee. And if I have decaf, sometimes I will have decaf coffee too. Although for some reason I don't care for the decaf. I don't know. But those are two things that I think do have a significant effect in decreasing my anxiety, and I just tend to be in denial about. And then another thing is that I try to spend some time each day for something creative that I enjoy. So for me, that could be reading, that could be writing in my journal or writing on my blog, link below, or it could be just anything else that's creative, that's a way that's not the same as my work, that allows me to express myself or nourish my brain, like help me learn something. I mentioned on Instagram stories that I'm taking a course right now on Coursera, Coursera.org. I'm taking a intro to psychology class. I'm making time for that just to learn. Anything like that, I try to do it for 30 minutes to an hour a day, just fit it in whenever I can. And the important part is that I give myself full permission to use that time for that thing. If I feel like I'm doing something when I should be doing something else, I can't enjoy it, I can't be in the moment. It's hard enough to be in the moment doing things when you are feeling anxious. So giving myself that full permission and treating it like a prescription that I need to be healthy and be my best really helps. And then another thing that was happening recently that seemed to help was being around other people. Obviously being around people who make me feel good, people who I like to be around, but I was around family. I went to a wedding last weekend, and being around family really decreases my anxiety. Pretty much all symptoms of it go away when I'm hanging out with my family. And I know that's not the case for everybody. I know not everyone is that close with their family. In fact, maybe some people, their families make their anxiety worse. So obviously that's not going to be the same case, but maybe it could be friends. Maybe it could be just going to a coffee shop and, being around other people who are doing work and smiling at the barista. Like, I think even just kind of interacting positively with people can really be helpful as well. Unless maybe you have a job where you're around people all day and your anxiety is caused by that, perhaps taking time for yourself away from the public can be good too. I can't say for sure, but that's just what works for me, is taking some time to be around people. Now, those are my tips. Those are the things that have been helping me recently. I want to say that I also try to prioritize, or I try to focus on not beating myself up if my work isn't as efficient as it is when I don't have anxiety. One thing that I've learned from this experience, as my anxiety has gotten worse and as in my adult years, is that it really is, sometimes it is just not something you can control. And I think I held on to the belief that when I'm feeling anxious, it's always something that I'm doing. Like, it's a thought process that I'm having, or I'm being too hard on myself, or I don't know, something else. But I've really learned that sometimes even when I'm doing great forms of self-care, I still am having so much anxiety that it's debilitating. It really reminds me that there is just so much that we don't know about the brain. There's so much we don't know about mental illness, and sometimes you just feel awful and you can do everything to try to help yourself and you still feel awful. And so I think it's okay, I know it's okay to give ourselves the grace to recognize when we are just not feeling right. It's like if you're sick, if you're dealing with the flu, you're not going to be well enough to go through your day and work and interact with the world as you normally do. In fact, taking time away, taking time to rest and recuperate will make you feel better sooner. And I think we should be given the same grace with that when it comes to our mental health as well. Unfortunately, it's harder to demonstrate when we're feeling bad because only we experience and only we can see it. But I think the more that we can give ourselves that permission to step back and not expect as much from ourselves during the times when we need to get well, that can be a really helpful way in recovering and getting back to our normal selves faster, and hopefully the people around us can understand that as well. So yeah, in conclusion, over time I've found that after doing these things daily, I stopped becoming so obsessive and anxious about irrational things, and I could think more clearly, and it also reminded me just how much anxiety and depression can cloud your judgment and make it harder to function. When I'm feeling that way, it's just harder to cope with day-to-day life. And seeing the stark contrast between when my anxiety is really bad and then like now where I'm feeling so much more balanced, it just reminds me that this is something that goes on in your brain and you can't always control it. But I think we can control how we care for ourselves and how we talk to ourselves to an extent. So if you are dealing with really bad anxiety or really bad depression or some other mental illness that just makes you feel just frustrated with yourself, or just you're feeling just it's so much harder to function and you're frustrated and maybe other people don't understand, you are not lazy. You are fighting a battle that other people can't see. And in fact, I think many people, even if they can understand, I think a lot of us tend to be in denial. We tend to think that we can have more control over this, or we're just being weak, or we're like overplaying it. But you are strong. You are a fighter. Like, really. This is serious stuff. And sometimes you need more than just these things that I'm talking about. I've mentioned before that I've considered medication, and it's still not something that I've ruled out completely. Now that I'm feeling better, it reminds me that I can maybe do things, these things I felt better after doing them, so I'm going to see how it goes, but I'm never going to rule out something that will make me feel better, something that is tested, that has been researched, and that is, medically recommended to help you. So yeah, that's basically it. I hope that these tips helped you if you also deal with anxiety. If they did, let me know down below. I'd love to hear from you. Or if there's anything else that helps you feel better day to day when you're feeling anxious or depressed, I would love, love, love to hear about that. So please let me know below. If you really liked this video and you want to see more like this, feel free to subscribe. And yeah, I will talk to you guys later. I hope you have a beautiful day, and goodbye.